Now, oftentimes in graffiti, the letters won't be all one color. Sometimes they'll transition from one color to another. That is really up to you how you want to paint in your letters. You can just choose to do one color. You can do one color per letter. You can do a blend in different ways. I'm going to show you how I would do a blend where it's one color on the top and another color on the bottom and a little bit mixed in the middle. Now, because we're working on wood, the paint is going to dry very quickly because the wood is going to absorb the moisture that's in the paint. So blending does become a little tricky. So I'm going to show you how I would go about that. The first thing I'm going to do is I mixed up a good amount of my color so that I don't run out partway through. You don't want to have to mix a little bit and then run out and mix again and run out. So I mix a good amount, and I'm going to paint just sort of the top half first. I'm going to stop right near the middle. Now, as you paint, you need to stay in the lines. It's good to have a smaller brush for some of the details. That's good to have. You want to make sure that you are painting thin. You don't want to have it big, thick, and globby. Now, if you go over the Sharpie a little bit, that's okay. Don't go outside of your lines, but it's okay if you cover just a tiny bit of the Sharpie, because we're going to re-outline it later on before we're done. That's one of the last steps, is just kind of going over that Sharpie and cleaning it up. So what I just did right there, I kind of went over I went on top of the Sharpie just a little, but I still stayed in the line so I didn't go outside of this box. Now, if I have a weird angle, rather than trying to paint that angle, I'm actually going to turn and get it a nicer angle for my hand to get a cleaner edge. So rather than trying to bend your arm, instead just readjust the fence. Once you have painted the top half, you're going to paint the bottom half, and because I want it to sort of blend in the middle a bit, I'm going to go with my second color, basically just touching the top color. It dries very quickly, so by the time I was done painting with it, the top was basically dry already. Now, as you're doing this, you might like the look of the two colors not being blended, and maybe you just make a line that goes down the middle. I do want to blend it a little bit, so how I'm going to do that is, because I did this in one sitting, I still have both of my colors here. If you did this over the course of several classes, you probably don't have both colors. So the first thing you want to do is try to remix a color that's very close to the originals. So mix both of them. And then what you're going to do is you're going to try to mix a middle color between the two. So put those two together. Try to mix something that's a little bit in the middle between the two. And when I'm going to blend this, I'm going to put this there, and then I'm going to have my clean water cup. I'm just going to add some clean water to kind of overlap the two. Now, it can help to clean off your brush a bit. I'm just going to add some clean water to blend it up. So that's one method, is to kind of add some water to help blend it. Another thing you can do is, if you just take a little bit of the paint and use something called dry brush. So that was adding water, doing like a wash. Dry brush can be just having a mostly dry brush with no paint or water, lightly brushing it up, clean it up, lightly brushing it down. So you have to decide which method works best for you, but those are both ways that you can blend the two together. So dry brush, clean-ish dry brush up, wipe it off your brush, cleanish, dry down. Okay, so it's really up to you which method you think works better. I kind of like for these two colors the dry brush method better. It does depend on your colors sometimes, which method works better. My design also has a drop shadow around it, so I mixed two colors for that. I'm going to use a violet and a little bit of a lighter violet for that. And this is nice and small, so I'm using a small brush. I'll paint those in. The last thing that I had planned in my design is to have a white border around the outside of my letters. Once your design is completely dry, so you have to wait till at least the next class, you can re-outline it with the Sharpie to clean up your edges. Again, the paint cannot be even a little bit damp for this or to ruin the Sharpie. From here, you can decide if you want to add anything on the outside. You can paint some extra accessories or designs or patterns. You could go in and add patterns or designs on top of your paintings. You could paint them, or I do have paint pens that can work. Paint pens are not for bigger areas, they're for smaller areas. This small white outline, if you're not really good with a brush, for small details you could use for a paint pen, like an outline. But other than that, the big colors you can't use the paint pens for. Paint pens can do nice things like if you want to add a highlight, and little details like that, you can use a paint pen. And I have colorful paint pens that you could, for example, draw something on top of the paint in the background. But the acrylic paint has to be 100% dry for that. And when you're done, then it's time to add your string.